Hey, I'm Ray Allegrezza. I am Executive Director of IHFRA and Editor-at-Large at Home News Now, and I want to welcome you to the latest edition of The Last Word. And if you've never been here before, the concept is simple. I talk to smart people in the industry with proven track records in their area of expertise, and today is no exception. I am very happy to have a longtime friend, Lance Hannish, who I lovingly call the Dean of Integrated Marketing Solutions. And he and I go way back, and he hit the nail on the head with something before most of you were probably even in the industry. And it was that he told us at a leadership conference, and even years before that, that if we wanted to be successful in marketing and talking and touching to the consumer, it was all about screens. And he said that before anybody even knew what that meant. So before we dive into that, Lance, for those who may not know you, give us kind of a quick synopsis of who you are and what you've done.
I've done nothing, absolutely nothing.
Nothing but great work, but go ahead.
Thank you. No, been in the advertising business for 150 years, and frankly, just got into the home furnishings industry and primarily through retail, and obviously with some really great accounts with Clive Lubner, Robin Stuckey, and many others on the way, and many manufacturers as well.
Terrific. And as I said when I opened the program, you've been preaching about the power of screens for decades now. I mean, 70s, 80s. When did you first realize the power of screens as it applied to marketing? And what was that aha moment?
Well, I think it applied back in my early days in our ad agency. And we had a client who was a restaurateur who had, for whatever reason, a mighty Wurlitzer organ in the middle of this big restaurant. And it was a German restaurant in Milwaukee, of course. And it was really something unusual. So we went and thought that, well, perhaps this would be a really great opportunity to bring in television, because I had a friend who was telling me there was a new show coming up. And this television show, he said I could get it to you very inexpensively. So that always sounded good. It was good to the client. We created a commercial and put it on what was then the very first episode of Sonny and Cher. And the restaurant was absolutely overwhelmed with business. And that was really the aha moment that I really felt that television was the powerhouse of advertising for any retailer who was trying to sell really anything. And but the premise about screens, Ray, was really not about the screen itself, but the people who watched the screen. It was really the customer. And they're really not your customer, but they're really your potential customer. And that's why we wanted to migrate to screens, to not only get those who did frequent a client, but also obviously those who might want to go and live their dreams better. In this particular case, in home furnishings.
Right. So, you referenced, you've done some amazing things, and I was there for the ride. You did some powerful advertising and marketing and messaging with Robin Stuckey and so many of the really sharp retailers. Can you tell us a little bit about how you integrated screens with some of your home furnishing clients?
Well, we integrated screens with every one of our clients. And the purpose was obviously to make sure that we had the ability to reach those who would, or who should purchase, from the retailer or the manufacturer. One of the things that you had to understand is who the people were you were trying to reach. And then really trust yourself to go and understand the market better than, really anybody else. Mm-hmm. And hopefully be able to go and influence those people to come in and create messages that meant something. And I think with your case of Robin Stuckey and many of the others. I mean, Clyde Belovner really is the genius behind that whole brand. And it was easy to go and be able to sell the dream rather than the product itself. Because if you ever went into a store that he has, it's full of dreams. It's not full of product. It's positioned in such a way that you really want to go and imagine it in your own home. And I think that was really what drove us to do all of that. And the clients that we obviously gained throughout the years, whether it be Rooms to Go or Ashley, what have you, was about selling the dream.
Perfect. Now, knowing where the industry is today, and I don't think I'm being overly negative if I described it as possibly stuck in the mud with no tow truck. You know, there's been a tendency, everybody pulling their horns and put the covers over our head. So knowing what you know about where the industry is positioned today, is this the time to invest in advertising and marketing? And if so, you mentioned the dream. I don't want to lead the witness. What about the messaging? What should the messaging be for this industry to wake it up?
I think there was 4 questions, Ray.
There were.
Okay. Let's go and attack one of the first ones, and that is it a good time? It's absolutely the critical time. And the reason is that we've come into this slump and we need to get out of it. And the only way to get out of it is through advertising. You can't just go and start cutting your budgets and hoping that people walk in the door accidentally, or that the mall that you're in is going to draw people in. You've got to go out and actually force the issue, and you're going to have to use screens. And today it's a lot different than it was, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So you need to go and incorporate, obviously all the new channels. And it's not just television. I don't mean just the broadcast and the cable, but social media. I mean, the whole premise of this is the fact that we have to engage with this audience. I mean, if we don't, we're going to lose an entire generation. I mean, Gen Z, for instance, 38% of whom use social apps for at least 4 hours every day. Are we there? Are we in front of them constantly? I mean, are we using TikTok? Are we using Twitter? I mean, TikTok, 8.34 million monthly active users. X, Twitter, 237.8 million. I mean, these are daily users. Snapchat with 750 million. YouTube, my goodness, with 2.1 billion. And 51% of them, by the way, are female. So you want to go and they spend like 45 minutes a day on it. Come on, where are we? Instagram, everybody knows that target 18-24 is 30% of their audience. 2 billion monthly users. I mean, it's 50-50 on that, female and male. Threads, I mean, this is a sensational new, almost PR move, because they're not really accepting advertising, but you can go and promote on it. Facebook, I mean, the powerhouse of all, targeting 25 to 34-year-olds, 49 million daily users on Threads. On Facebook, it's 2.9 billion. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous numbers. Pinterest, beautiful way of showing off the product in its closed form, its photographic form. LinkedIn, many LinkedIn people, dealers are looking for new ideas. There are many people who are on LinkedIn who are buying home furnishings. What are we doing? What are we offering? You don't have to go on LinkedIn and just talk about jobs. WhatsApp, I mean, does anybody understand what WhatsApp can do? I mean, it's targeting 26, 35-year-olds, and there's 98 million monthly users in the US alone. It's female-driven. Come on, guys. This is really time to absolutely dominate the screens. Not just the television, I say, but all of the screens that are available to us every moment of every day. Right, still nobody dominates them, Ray. None.
Right, I just want to say, you use that word a couple of times, and I think it's critical, dominate. You've
Yep.
worked with manufacturers and you've worked with retailers in our industry. Talk
Yep.
to me a little about what a manufacturer needs to do to use all of those screens, and then a retailer, not just to toe dip, but to dominate. If you were, guiding them, what would you tell them to do?
Well, first, manufacturers, retailers, there's really this bridge between the two. That's really where advertising really becomes a powerful play. And if the manufacturers really want to go and make their dealers really excited about what they're attempting to do, is to come in with full-blown packages on a national basis, to be able to tell the world what they have and how good it is and how beautiful it is. Make them believe in the dreams, and then have packages available for them so they can adapt to those locally for the retailer. They both have to invest. In the early days of home furnishings, there just wasn't any investment at all. And many said they just didn't believe in it, because manufacturers didn't, because, hey, their job was to sell product. Well, I got to tell you, today's world is you have to do a lot of things, but it's also to sell the public on your product. And none of them are really doing it, with the exception of perhaps Ashley, who occasionally comes on with some advertising. But nobody really dominates this position. Betting tries to, but it sort of fails. It's usually done with the co-op through that retailer. But I think that one of the things that we have to understand is this is a retailer game, and they have to have assistance from the manufacturer to dominate. And they've got to dominate in their marketplace. Many can't afford that, they say, but they can. Just example, cut the budget down to not 7 days a week, but to 4 or 5. Dominate Thursday, dominate Friday, dominate Saturday, dominate Sunday. This is the time when people are more engaged with the screens than any other time. So let's go and try to use our brains and try to funnel max resources to dominate the screens on any given day, so that we can start reaching those people who really could, or who would, or who should purchase from us.
That's perfect. I heard you mention sell the dream. So, maybe the messaging involves the dream, inspiration, aspiration. And you've been around as long as I have, maybe longer, and you followed the messaging that this industry has put forth to the consumer, probably with sharper eyes than I ever had. How often have we missed the mark? I mean, so often it's been everything but that message. I mean, Ethan Allen, Clive, yes, Robbins, yeah. There was a handful that got it, but the masses just seem to go in other directions. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the nation has this tendency to want to go and win today. This is the day. We have to have the money today. So it's sale, 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 sale. What are we selling? Another piece of wood? Another piece of upholstery? I mean, what makes us different? What makes us better? What makes us want them to purchase from us? And if we can answer those questions, it takes time, so that you have a month rather than a day, a quarter rather than a month, a half a year rather than a quarter, a year rather than a half a year, to be able to go and bring this message to them. It's too much money, it takes time, nobody comes in the door. It's wrong. They do come in the door. And if you do go and just continue to use the sale, 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 you're no different than the used car salesman. You're no different than an automobile dealership. You're no different than anybody else, a grocery store chain, nothing else. Nothing defines you as selling the dream. People want to live better, and they want this all the time. This is part of their dream, to come home, to be satisfied. I mean, we can affect more people every day in this industry than any other industry. And we just have to go and understand that it takes this position to go and sell the dream rather than that commodity that everybody else has. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because if you don't sell the dream, then you're selling by the pound, and there's always a guy down the street that's got it for less money per pound, and it's a lose-lose. It's that race to the bottom that we've talked about, where everybody kind of loses.
Everybody loses. The whole industry loses. And the point of all of this, I mean, just look at what this industry, the change of this industry in just the last 5 years, in just the last 10 years. How many famous retailers no longer are there, not just in home furnishings, but in fashion and everything else? I mean, the whole idea is to go and be able to affect more people every day. And we're just doing a lousy job at it. We need to go and get back and understand that our mission is to help improve other people's lives. And when we do that, we're going to be able to provide them with great furniture at the price they can afford and make their dream come true, no matter what economic level they're at.
Good point. One of the things that I'm seeing now, we're an industry of guys that look like us, handsome, but maybe on the wrong side of 50. But I've seen kind of a new generation of younger people coming in, taking the helm at the companies. But have you seen any wholesale change in thinking or strategy as some of these young guys take the wheel? And no disrespect to any of the young guys. This is just
I don't look at that so much as I note that this is their time to take charge. And this is the time that they have to go and tell their old man or their mother or whomever is running the business that it's their time to take hold. They have the ideas. They have the understanding. We have a completely new generation really running the manufacturing and retailing within this industry. You and I are just maybe historians in this respect, that we can perhaps help them understand where some pitfalls may be and be able to solve some of their problems and their issues. But the point of it is they have to go and be inventive. I've seen a lot of young people go and really be inventive. I mean, one of the things I think the industry has to do is think outside of who they are.
Mhm.
They have parking lots. Many are freestanding on their own ground. What about putting up a Tesla supercharger or an EV power station? I mean, what a cool thing. Well, they go in and charge up for a half hour, they can come and get a free cup of coffee or and come and look at the really great, beautiful world of design and furnishings we have in these magnificent stores. I mean, let's think outside this box, and this young generation can and will do that if allowed. And I think that we just have to sort of step aside now and say, okay, we had our time. That was our time. Now it's someone else's time to go and take it to the next step. We haven't taken it to the next step. We've just merely tried to push it to the next step. And I think it really is up to this new generation to, take it to that next place.
Perfect. I like that. And hopefully they will do that. You serve a lot of different industries other than home furnishings, obviously.
Yeah.
Are there entities, are there retail or retailers out there, whether they're in home furnishings or outside of our box, that are getting it right, or at least mostly right? And what are they doing to have earned your respect in that regard?
I really look all over the world and try to see what certain people are doing to attract. And one of the things I have seen, I spent a lot of time with Facebook for about 3 years in this last 5 years. And I've learned that people from all over the world really want to do one thing, and that is to go and, well, besides live peacefully, but most important, I think, try to go and come up with new ideas to make their way better. One of the things I'm fascinated when I go to France is the Parisian windows. They're always famous. I mean, they're professionals who do that. And people do walk the streets and do go and look and see what fascination is there. Sometimes we forget that one of the first views of our home furnishing stores are those front windows. It's not to go and put up sale now over them and cover up some exciting new product they might be looking at. I see that as one of the things. I see a movement toward certainly climate change. They're all involved. I see a significant amount of people, retailers in particular, making sure that they're putting up solar for a whole host of things, lighting their parking lots, lighting their facilities, for energy of their entire facilities. I see that in a lot of places. I think more importantly, I've found that the desire to come up with some really great advertising, novel advertising, I think is unique. England is usually pretty far advanced in that. I think one of the keys is that they tend to also look at holidays different than we do, where we look at holidays to sell product. They look at holidays to sell their brand. They go and try to come up with a new methodology in their advertising on television or on screens, in social media, to better position themselves within the marketplace. But honestly, when you get back to it, it all comes down to what we're doing here, because this is the biggest retail market in the world, the United States. And the guys who are really doing the great jobs are those who are marching out in front. Look at Apple. I mean, Apple stores even have a guard at the front to get in, because there may be too many people inside their store to handle all their customers. The idea of the cleanliness, the beauty of the interiors, we've got to go and rethink about how we go and do these things and how we make our stores more attractive. But why is Apple where they're at? They spend an inordinate amount on advertising. Their advertising is sensational. And they have their partners, those are the telephone companies, AT&Ts of the world, who also go and use the corporate advertising format with filling into their own brands. I see that as a phenomenal co-op that I think we can do more of within our home furnishings industry.
I think that's a great point. Believe it or not, when I talk to you, this happens all the time. The time flies. We wanted to keep this to about 20 minutes or so, and we have. But because this show is called The Last Word, Lance, you get the last word. I mean, anything you'd like to add? I'd love to get your, before you give the last word, I'd love to get your take on where you see us in maybe the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, based on what you see now. And then any final words, you've got the podium, sir.
Well, thanks. I just think that we affect more people every day than any other industry. People have to sit. People have to eat. They have to feel at home. They have to rest. They have to sleep. They have to study. They have to grow up. They have their lives to live, and it all centers around us. It's really time to make ourselves heard, seen, and admired. That's how we're going to go and really make a difference in the next 5 to 10 years.
I love it. So that dream can become a reality. Sell the dream and it become your reality. Yes?
It is. it's all, I don't want this to become a place where everybody thinks this conversation is about image. It's not. It's about selling the dream of what we're trying to do. And those who accomplish that are going to be further ahead. There's an amazing commercial out from Amazon. There are 3 old women who find boards and they're going to use them as sleds. And there's not a word spoken. And they show these 3 older women in their 80s, maybe their 90s, sliding down this magnificent hill in their single sleighs, if you would, with reflections on them as younger girls. And then finishing up, getting up and laughing. Not a single word is spoken. All they did is put that old Amazon up there, swoosh, and that was it. That's selling the dream. I'm going to Amazon and buy. How about you? That's what it's telling this, folks. That's what it's telling the young girls. That's what it's telling the older ladies. And they still control the pocketbook.
I love it. I love it. I could not add anything to that. Lance, I want to thank you for taking time. You've always been my hero. You just proved it again. You do have insight that this industry sorely needs and has used effectively when they've allowed you to work your mojo, man. So I appreciate everything you're doing. Keep living the dream and we'll keep selling it.
Thank you, my friend. All the best to you and your family, and love seeing you on the screens, whether you're playing me a piece of music in the morning on your guitar, or if I get to see Izzy do one more twirl, you know.
Hey, it's what it's about. It's about life.
It is.
Lance, thank you. Be well and see you soon. I appreciate this.
Thank you, buddy. Be
All
good.
right, thank you. Bye-bye.